But again, as adults, we're like, tend to dismiss things and say, hey, it's a coincidence, is this? And the book says, no, leave those, if it made you feel good, if it brought joy in your heart, receive it as magic and allow it in. And that's where that love of life, love of whatever is around you opens up.
Welcome back to the You Need a Counselor podcast. This is a show presented by Heart and Solutions Counseling Agency. We release new episodes every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central and encourage you to batch up that laundry, put away the dishes, plan for the week ahead, or do any other task that might seem daunting while you give our show a listen. You might just be encouraged to call your therapist, connect with this week's guest, or seek out those services you've been considering for a while but haven't made the commitment to yet. If you are in the state of Iowa and are in need of mental or behavioral health counseling, give us a call at 1-800-531-4236. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome back to the You Need a Counselor podcast. My name is Dr. Julie Johnson. I'm the president and founder here at Heart and Solutions Counseling Agency in Iowa.
And I'm Chrissa Hunt. I am our vice president in charge of our behavioral health department. And this is our podcast, You Need a Counselor. So we are designed for people curious about counseling, but have barriers keeping them from experiencing the benefits of counseling. Our mission is to share stories about counseling, good, bad, and indifferent, and spread the message that everyone can benefit from mental health and behavioral health counseling services.
So our guest today is a shaman. She's a transformational, heart-centered healer. And she is a spiritual guide as well as a motivational speaker. She's also a best-selling author on Amazon. She is the author of the book, Change Yourself, Change the World, Transform Your Life from Fear-Based Living to Choosing Love and Seeing Magic, which is great because in our previous episode, we talked a lot about choosing a life that's not fear-driven and choosing, and actually, in both of our previous episodes, we talked about running towards things as opposed to running away from things, and how to recognize when fear is driving our car. And so this is very, very exciting to have our guest today with us. So we've got Atousa Raissyan with us today. Welcome, Atousa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. So you are a transformational heart-centered healer. Tell us what that means.
A lot of those titles is just a way for people to honestly find me. But basically what it comes down to is my clients come to me when they've tried different places, different modalities, and they're not getting to the place they want. And I connect with them more on an energetical, spiritual level, you can say, and find those spots that has left markers in their sort of patterns and behaviors and their emotions and those triggers, and bring those to the surface so they can recognize it, see it, and together we go ahead and release them, heal them, and change the programming that came with it.
Interesting. So when a client reaches out to you, like what can they expect from like a first session, like getting to like what goes on in that first session with you?
The first session, for majority of the people, I basically cleanse them, and cleansing is just something you cleanse the space, cleanse the room. Everybody nowadays uses sage, Palo Santo, whatever you want to do. And it's more like bringing you back into here, bringing you back into yourself. And then if it's virtual, I have them lie down wherever they're at. If it's here, I have a table that they lie down. And I basically connect with them again on an energetical, spiritual level to see, is the emotions that they're carrying, what are those emotions? Are they more from their interactions with their mom or dad? Is there some generational stuff? And then I find the ages that left those triggers and once I have all that information, I also do a little bit of opening. And then the sessions after that is where those ages, that information, sort of that blueprint I got on the first session, that's when each session we go deeper into those areas.
So what kinds of things do people come to you for that they've maybe tried other solutions to try to resolve?
Most of them, there's a lot of anxiety, depression, ADD, ADHD, and they're basically living in a place where their anxiety and their depression is running life. And, they've gone through therapy, they've gone through counseling, and it hasn't helped. The medications are not really helping. And they're not finding that joy and passion in their life.
And I think you said like clients could either be in person or remote. Like could a client come and see you even if they're not in person near you?
Yeah, I have a lot of clients that don't even live in my area. I live in DMV area, DC, Washington Metropolitan. And a lot of my clients, they're not even in US. I've had clients like in Europe, as far as I think India. India was a little bit challenging because of the time zone and the time difference to schedule, but yeah.
Wow. So, and you mentioned that counselors will send clients to you, or therapists will work with people and send clients to you to work on their energy and spirituality. Can you tell us about that process?
Yeah, there are several therapists and counselors that they were my clients. They came to me, and through working with them and releasing their sort of patterns, behaviors, heal those parts that they didn't recognize. Now, those guys, when they have clients, that their clients are sort of like they take them as far as they feel they can, and there's something in the past that they're stuck and they're not seeing, the client is not seeing, they send them to me, and I find basically those hidden parts, those, like I said, the ages that we need to go talk to. And that's, I go back and connect them to that age. It's hard to describe really, because it's not like I don't use their memory. I don't use anything they give me. It's more like me. Somebody said it really in an interesting way. It's like I time travel in a way and find the different ages that they might not even know what happened at that point, and bring them out, and sort of we're talking to that part of them, not the adult part. That I'm not trying to make the adult change perspective. I'm actually getting that sort of like a 5-year-old to change perspective and shift.
Interesting. How did you get into this field of work, and how did you learn how to do that?
I talk about it a lot in my book, actually. So it was for my energy healing. I started with that first. That one I went through certifications and got my master healer certification. But then the rest of it has been really through my own transformation and life journey, and the tools I've picked up and learned, and sort of working with my own spirit guides and my own sort of like mentors out there that, like Rumi is one of my biggest guides, I always say, through his poetry and everything. So it's just then different tools, techniques I used for myself, and it was working. And then at some point life said, hey, stop, because I was an engineer actually before I was an electrical engineer, and sort of life halted everything and said, nope, enough. You've done that. Now go do the work you're meant to do.
Wow, that is interesting. So you were an electrical engineer and you were doing these things for yourself personally. You were reading and doing research and trying these different techniques, and then transitioned into doing this for others.
The techniques, actually, they weren't, it wasn't a research really. No, it was more of me like I said, working with my own sort of like a spirit realm, if you want to call it, and getting it's not really information. It's like finding ways that worked for me to release and heal. So, yeah, it wasn't the research. It's just more of, knowing spiritually there is a bigger mission for all of us in this life, and that we've come here and we're taken on these different roles and identities, and they've become our characters in this movie of life, and we're letting those characters run the show rather than letting go of all these identities and characters that we've created and coming to a place of truth in ourselves and standing in that truth and not needing any mask or dresses or identities or personas for different reasons in our life.
So you mentioned your book then. Can you kind of give us some more background on what that's about and who the book's for?
The book is for anybody that wants to change. And the reason I did the book was I wanted to give people the same type of guidance that I give during my sessions, the same type of homework exercises I give them, and sort of break that open. So anybody, if you even don't want to, because people come up with a lot of excuses, I don't have the money, I don't have the means, I don't have this. So, okay, here's a book. All those things that I help with my clients, this is a way for you to open up and, do it yourself. I did it myself. You have the tools now. So I start by sort of taking the reader through my own story so they can relate, how I came to be doing this work and what were some of my own traumas that I had to move past. And then the reason for the book, which is, as we change and we change our own way of interacting with the world, that ripple effect of our change changes the people around us, and then they change, whoever they come. So that ripple effect is what I wanted to see. And at this point in the world that we're living in, it's very important, I think, that that ripple effect starts happening more and more for us to shift. Why our world is the way it is because of fear, and the fear that's gone for generations and generations and generations. And then I guide them through the different chapters, or sort of like the how to and why. And then I give them exercises, and then I have some client stories at the end to share as well.
Great. So it's kind of it's a mix. It's a personal narrative, and it's examples of others, and it sounds like it's very hands-on. It is, these are things that we can do to actively work on these challenges that we're facing, and transition from that fear-based living to choosing love and seeing magic. And that phrase, seeing magic, is so interesting. What does that mean for you and in the book?
In the book, actually, I go through that as well, because we've come into, everybody loves magic. Magic, you cannot say, as a kid, grown up, we love it. But as a kid, we're easier to accept and find joy in little magic. And it doesn't matter what the adults are doing or saying. For a little kid, it's still magical. And then we come into these adults that sort of, it has to be really big for us to consider it magic. But magic can be anything, as far as, hey, you're walking and the rays just there's hitting the cloud in a way that the light is coming down, and just like, oh, wow, look at that. That is magic. Or you feel like a bird just came and sat next to you, and that is magic. Why is this particular bird at that particular time coming and sitting there? But again, as adults, we're like tend to dismiss things and say, hey, it's a coincidence, is this? And the book says, no, leave those, if it made you feel good, if it brought joy in your heart, receive it as magic and allow it in. And that's where that love of life, love of whatever is around you opens up.
And you mentioned at the end, there's like homework or exercises for the reader to do as well. Can you give us some examples of what exercises or homework you would have someone do?
One of my favorite exercises is the love and gratitude exercise. And the love and gratitude is not sort of, I love my kids, I love my husband, I love my mom and dad, I love this or that. It's more of the little things and more finding love for yourself. So I say, get up every morning, and before even you're getting out of bed, find just few things that's right there that you love, and you can say love and gratitude to. It can be your pillow, your sheets, your phone, the window, whatever. And then at that point, then go to your body, to yourself. Find things that you can say, I love and I'm grateful for. And it can be, for example, I love my eyes. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to see the world. I love you. Thank you, to your eyes. But then the key here is that you got to really love it. You can't secretly say, oh God, I hate my eye. Those bags under my eye. I wish I didn't have those. So pick the ones that you genuinely can say, I love you. And then go back inside the body, organs, bones, tissues, muscles, and same thing. I love my pancreas. I don't know what the heck you do, but I love you. I know you're functioning in there and you're doing a great job. I love you.
Yeah, I love that. The gratitude exercise is beautiful. And I would even, encourage anybody that even if you don't feel it, like, yes, we want to get to a place where I'm writing or I'm saying out loud, I am grateful for my ears because they help me hear. I am grateful that there is food in the refrigerator and there's heat on in my house. But sometimes we don't feel that. But even the process of saying it, even the process of writing that down, even if I'm like, this is a stupid thing to be thankful for, right? Even if I'm thinking that or feeling that, or I have to go to the dentist today and I hate the dentist, right? But if I put that in my gratitude journal that morning and I say, okay, but I'm grateful that there are dentists and that I have an appointment today and that I have time in my day to go there and that my child's in school while I'm going there, right? And that they know how to fix whatever's wrong with my teeth so that I don't get infection. It doesn't infect my heart, right? So even the process of writing those down or saying those out loud has an effect on our body, our thoughts, and the things that we say and the things that we write and the things that we say to ourselves, even if they don't feel genuine when we're doing it. If we do that over time, we kind of grow into it. We see it differently. What we look at and what we focus on becomes clearer to us, and we're better able to identify those things that, yeah, I don't want to go to the dentist, right? But if I'm writing out gratitudes in the morning, I can genuinely write down, I'm grateful that the dentist exists and I'm not going to have an issue that's going to leave me with no teeth, right? Because I like eating food that requires teeth, right? So, I would even encourage anybody that, like, even if it doesn't feel genuine as you're doing those kinds of gratitude rituals, that practicing it, because everything like this is a practice. That's what it is. It's doing things and growing into them. Our mind and our hearts will catch up when we do certain things. So that, 10 gratitudes a day in the morning, I still do that. And actually, both of you were on it this morning because it's, going through the day. And what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for a great guest today. I'm grateful for the show, right? I'm grateful for Chrissa. And there is so much power in that. So I love that example. The seeing magic. I just love this imagery. And you're right. Everybody loves magic, everybody. I mean, it's just great. And it brought to mind for me, gosh, my when my daughter was 4, my husband had this really cool, creepy notebook. He got it like Hobby Lobby or something. And he got her an invisible pen that you could only see in black light. And he told her it was a spell book, and she believed it more than we thought she would. And she had a friend over when she was maybe 4.5, almost 5. And she said, Mom, show Astrid what it does. Show her what it does. And I was like, babe, I can't do a spell, right? I'm sorry. She was like, no, do a spell. It's from the book. And she truly, genuinely believed it. And I was like, oh no, like this is a moment. I gotta end the magic. But at the same time, since then, my daughter and I, we believe in the kinds of magic that you're talking about. So whenever we see starlings are like a huge thing for us. Whenever we see starlings, she'll be like, Mom, starlings are lucky. Look how many starlings we're seeing. I'm like, that is absolutely, yes, starlings are lucky for us. Double rainbows. There's a place we go almost every year, and we almost always see a double rainbow, right? And we go, oh my gosh, that is magic to see that. And so I love those things. And I had to Google, and I think for me, I'll sometimes go to Google and be like, is that really a good sign? I don't know. And Google will say one or the other and both, like it'll say both a lot of times. So, we had really, really bad negative, like 30-degree weather out here lately. And a starling died in our side yard. And we went outside and there was a frozen starling out there. And I was like, oh no, right? What does that mean? Because starlings are like our thing. And I looked it up on Google because I think for me, I was going, should I take this as a bad sign? But honestly, what the truth is that however I took it is what it was going to mean for me, is the meaning that it was going to have. And so Google was helpful, not helpful, and said, dead starling is a huge, bad sign, omen, and also said, dead starling is a change, like positive change type of thing, right? And I had said it to my husband, and my husband said, it's lucky if you're a cat, right? So I just, those kinds of things, looking for magic in the world, in the ordinary, is a beautiful idea. So I just love that that idea that you are sharing with the world. So how does somebody know if they are living a fear-based life, and could benefit from moving towards love and towards seeing magic?
Almost everyone in this world is operating under some type of a fear-based life. And the reason is, again, that generationally, all these fears have been passed down. And if you are triggered in any sort of a way during your daily life, that's an indication that fear is running the show. Because behind all those little emotions, if you take it down, it comes down to fear. And even that fear, if you bring it, there's some core fears that we all have. So almost every single person is operating under fear.
Absolutely. It comes down to fear of not getting something that I want to have happen, or of losing something that I have.
Yeah.
That fear, and any interaction where we're not feeling peaceful, can boil down to fear. Can you give us an example of that? Something we might not think is fear?
Well, everything is gonna, whenever, like I said, the identities and the personas that you have. So anything that comes that hits any of these personas, and then you go into protective mode, and that protective mode tells you that you're operating in fear. So let's say, example, moms are a perfect example, actually. That mom persona character that you have, we're constantly in fear for our kids, and a lot of moms fear of, am I being a good mom, and am I like what the world sees? So anything that triggers that mom persona, whether it's your kid or the outside world, you're gonna react. It can be anxiety, it can be sadness, it can be anger and frustration. Why isn't she or he, your kid, listening to me? It's like that frustration that is telling you that you are operating in fear, and you're trying to control the situation by having your kid follow exactly what you think is safe and what you think it should be done. So that's a perfect mom personas, definitely big triggers. If you have a big personality in your work environment, and all your life you have worked hard to create this sort of work persona that's very successful and go-getter, and all those titles and tags and certifications and all that is attached to it, anything that comes to sort of touch this persona that feels unsafe, that's going to break down, and people are going to know you're not as strong as you're putting it out there, or you're not as sort of in your head smart or know-it-all as people think you are. Sort of your internal voice hits in. That's when that fear and anxiety comes, because you're trying to protect that identity that you've created.
Absolutely. It's the mom one is a great example. I always think of this example because it never seems related to fear, but it all does come down to fear. I believe that as well. When my daughter was 3, she was in a dance recital. It was like her second dance recital, and she did not do the dance steps at all. She ran around the stage for the entire song and then ran the other way. The teachers tried to catch her, and she like hound dogged them. And looking back at that video, it's hilarious. In that moment, I was not happy. I was not laughing. I was so upset. And so I had to go through like, okay, I'm so angry at my daughter. Why am I so angry at my daughter? And it comes down to, listen, I've got a business in this town, and we work with children, right? So the entire town seeing my child not do what she's supposed to do, literally being exactly who she is, because now she's 7, and that's exactly who she is. But so at 3, she was very herself. And so, okay, what does that mean? That is an identifier for myself that I have in front of who I am. And so, okay, I'm the owner of this business, right? Okay, now then what does that mean about me if my daughter is running around the stage? And so then it goes into, okay, well, if that felt like a threat, my daughter's running around the stage felt like a threat to my business, which then felt like a threat to my income, which feels like a threat to us getting our needs met, which for me, my fears usually come down to 2 things. I'm going to lose my daughter, or I'm going to die, which would, and it's one of the 2. And this one came down to both, because it was like, so I know you talk about with your clients, you work on previous traumas and how they impact our daily living, right? And so I was adopted when I was a year and a half. And the reason that they always tell you is that resources were scarce, right? And so for me, when I had my daughter, I was having a lot of these fears come up, and I was like, what is this about? And what it comes down to is any threat to that then triggered like, well, then I'm not going to be able to have the resources to keep her, and they're going to take her from me, right? Mm-hmm. And before my daughter, it was always like, then I'm not going to have the resources to feed myself, and I'm going to die, right? Or mm-hmm. to house myself, and I'm going to die. And now a lot of those come down to it, and then I'm they're going to take her, like I'm going to lose her. But before that, they all came down to I'm going to die. And when I was able to say, and I don't do it perfectly ever, because I still have things that annoy me and I have to go through this process every time. But when something annoys me or when I'm so angry with something, it comes down to death. And it took a long time to even get past that and recognize that my living tomorrow is also my preference and is also like me wanting that to be the thing that happens. And I don't have control over that, and having it go that kind of step farther, because for a long time I was like, well, that thing, I'm mad at it because it comes down to I'm going to die. Well, am I going to die? Well, no. So I can kind of challenge that out, right? But then when I was able to kind of get down to, okay, if I die, then what? Right? Like, then I don't get what I want, which is to live tomorrow, right? And that was the piece that was bothering me. And I wanted control over if I was alive tomorrow or not. And I don't have that. And so I love that you focus on that fear. And I love that you say that anybody, whether we recognize that feeling as fear or not, whether we recognize that feeling as like, oh, I'm feeling afraid in this moment, or if we recognize that feeling as that person is a jerk, like they just said that. How dare they say that to me? Or how dare they do that to me? Being able to break that down to, okay, but what is that fear that's driving that feeling, right? If somebody's rude to me in the grocery store, there's a fear that, well, if I'm not a respectable person to a stranger, right? If a stranger does not respect me enough to not yell at me or or fight me, yell at me over a grocery cart, or I don't know what it is. If a stranger does not respect me to that level, then maybe I'm not a person who can do things that serve other people, which is what is going to get my needs met, right? And so I'm not going to have the resources to live, and I'm going to lose my daughter now. But before that, it was and I'm going to die. And so it's like, yeah, should I have gotten that mad about that person yelling at me over a grocery cart? I don't know, maybe, but it has nothing to do with that person. It's that fear that's coming up, and I'm reacting as though that person is a threat to my life, and they're not. So I love what you're doing there.
Yeah, and in the book, I actually break down, just like you're mentioning, breaking down those fears and seeing where they're coming from. And like you said, it comes down to, once you become aware of these triggers that you're having and finding where they're coming from, taking responsibility, like you said, if the grocery person or whoever is doing something that's making me upset, it's not them, it's something in me. Take responsibility for it. And then reminding yourself, you have a choice. There's always a choice on how you're responding, how you're feeling, how you want to do things. And so in the books too, I break it down like that.
I know you were talking about when people get triggered, like they go into protective mode. Can you kind of go over like what that looks like for people and how you not do that in the future when they have that fear?
Yeah, go read the book. It's there too for people that want a little bit more detail. But basically, the biggest thing that can show you have fear, anger. Anger is the number one protection that we have, because when your anger comes out, basically you feel powerful, that nobody's going to come. And also physically, sometimes you gain that power when anger comes about. Sadness is another one, but the biggest protection is anger. And when you do feel that trigger, whether it's anger, sadness, fear, whatever at that moment is coming up, that emotion, again, instead of saying, hey, this situation is causing me this person is causing me this. No, that you're giving your power away every time you say that the situation or a person or something outside of you is making you feel a certain way. So go back inside and say, okay, I'm taking responsibility. This, whatever's happening on the outside, good, bad, indifferent, it's still triggering me. Let me go see where it is. Take responsibility, take it in. So you have awareness, responsibility. And once you take responsibility for it, then you'll see your choices. You have a choice on what you're going to do at that moment, whether to walk away, to say, hey, I just need something, like if it's with a partner or even your kids, I need a moment right now. I don't know why I'm being triggered, but I need a moment. If it's a stranger, you can just walk away, or, whatever at that moment is easier for you. And then doing that work to go inside, finding it. And then once you recognize it, then it's easier. It doesn't hide anymore. The next time that it happens, it's easier to connect with it and see it. And reminding yourself you're safe. You're always safe. When those fear triggers come, understanding that somehow some little part of you is reacting to whatever's going on. Remind that part, I'm safe. I'm safe, I'm supported, I'm loved. And it's not a particular person, place, or thing that's making you safe or loved. There is a bigger energy universe. Once you start saying it, you actually feel it inside. Even if you can't say I'm loved, I'm safe, all is well. In this moment, in this particular moment, I'm safe, all is well. And when you bring it down like that and say it a little bit, then it's easier to move on, because your body sort of like, it breathes, and it's like, okay, I'm back in me again. All right, now I can go see what just happened.
Absolutely. Even when we don't feel that safety, if we can say that, if we can have willingness to believe that, then it opens the door for that to happen, for that true, genuine belief and feeling it. And in cognitive behavioral therapy, we do, choose a different thought, because we have that power. I don't have the power to change my emotions directly. No, if I'm angry because I'm having a certain thought, I can't change that feeling with that. So if somebody's like, you shouldn't be angry about that, or don't be angry about that, like I literally cannot do that. But I can change the thought I'm having about the same situation. I probably can't change the situation either, but I can change the thought. And so for a lot of our young clients and adult clients, if they're going through cognitive behavioral therapy, we'll say, you do have, that is where your power lies, is in the thought. And so what are different thought options? And again, like, can I tell my brain to believe a different thought or to think a different thought? No, but I can create a new neural pathway to that thought. And at first it's going to be like creating a new road. So it's going to be all dirt and rocks, and it's just going to be really bumpy, and I'm going to be driving a plow through a field. And so it's going to feel like, this is not a natural thought to have. My little brother is coming into my room and annoying me and my friends at a sleepover, right? So I can't control that. Literally cannot control that. I can try to control that by whining to my mom. I can try to control that by yelling at him and kicking him in the butt, right? And locking my door. I can try to control what's happening. But honestly, at the end of the day, I really don't have control over what my brother does. I can try to control my anger. We hear this all the time: control your emotions, control your emotions, control your anger. We literally cannot do it. We can control our thoughts. So if my thought is, my brother is so obnoxious. He's trying to ruin my sleepover and it's working. And I have the fear base of my friends are going to be so annoyed, right? Or we're not going to get to do the fun stuff. And so they're not going to come over anymore. Or, they're not going to want to hang out with me anymore. Then I'm going to be all alone at school, right? And I'm going to have this lonely life. And it all comes down to I'm going to die, right? Because especially as young children, we need people around us to keep us alive. We're vulnerable. And so I can't change my feeling that I'm having. If that's the thought I'm having, of course I'm angry at my brother. Of course I am. That makes total sense. Can I change the thought, right? To like, maybe they'll find him funny. He's funny sometimes, right? Maybe they'll find him funny. Maybe if I engage with him a little bit, he'll go away, right? These are potential thoughts to try out. Again, we're driving through a cornfield with a plow, right? Because we've not had those thoughts before in the situation. But the more you drive that route through that cornfield, the easier the next time is, and the easier the next time is. And then we put in gravel, and then we put in cement, and then we put in concrete, and now it's a road, right? And that's just where the turn that we take when we're going that way. And so we can control those thoughts. And it sounds like what you're doing when you are going back in time is helping that part of us at that age to release those things when we were that age.
Yes, but not changing the thoughts really. It's more of coming from a place and understanding. So again, the adult you is not the one saying, oh yeah, normalizing it for what happened. Now as an adult, I'm seeing that kid, it makes sense. But actually that age, that part of you, that experience, all those things, the energies that are stored in the body. And you may, a lot of times, even, my clients come and say, well, it happened. I know why it happened. I've forgiven my mom. But the part is that still getting triggered. It's still that 4-year-old, that 5-year-old in you. So when I change the situation for that 4 or 5-year-old, I'm communicating with the energy. I'm releasing that energy, healing that energy. And then when that energy is not there anymore, it's sort of like, your brain is trying to hit a pattern. It's like, oh, it's not there anymore. What do I do? And you're saying, okay, now go this way. You need to go this way. That's the way I change that pattern. And a lot of times, even for people, I always say it's not about right, wrong, good, bad. And it's not about controlling a situation or even controlling your thoughts. Once you come inside and recognize that part of you, speaking from your I place, even like your brother is there. If you have you've done the work and you understand, hey, my brother right now really is feeling jealous, not wanted. He needs some love and attention right now. Maybe you can go give your brother a big hug and say, hey, you're loved. And, I love you and I'll play with you in an hour. Or you can just speak from your I place. I'm right now getting upset. I'm getting triggered right now. I'm getting angry. I'm getting upset because I feel you are taking away something from me. So speaking from, even as an adult or kid, when you speak from your I place, again, it brings it back the responsibility that it is your emotion. Nobody else is responsible for how you feel. Only you are. And that, okay, by speaking it, somebody else gets to see your perspective. And maybe they didn't see it. Maybe they didn't recognize it. So it gives them an opportunity to speak from their I place, their perspective. And both can be valid and true. It doesn't mean like because you are seeing a certain way that the other person has to see it your way. You can both be right at the same time.
So if someone was interested in either starting counseling or starting like transformational heart-centered healing, like you guys, or like you do, what is a suggestion that you might give them if they are on the fence about starting that?
Mm, you just have to, even that saying something is stopping you. If you are unhappy and you know life, there's a feeling inside of you, things can be better, or there's so much fear, I can't even know, I'm tired. So if you are having any of those emotions, that should be the indicator to get help. Get help from anywhere, any place, book, whatever it is. Because as you open that door up and that willingness that, okay, I see that there's something here, because again, either I'm being triggered all the time, or I've tried everything, nothing seems to be working, I'm not happy, all those things. Just the willingness to help, get help, receive help, is going to open that door up, and you'll see it again. Those messages, the books, the people, the counselor, healer, shaman, whatever you need, you're going to see it. You're going to start. I've had clients come to me and say, I don't know even how you popped up. You popped up for me and I found you. And it was because they were ready to receive help and they got it.
Absolutely. And we'd love to share where people can find you if they happened upon this episode somewhere, right? And had a willingness and an openness to receive something like this in their lives. This is it. Here it is. So your website is atousaraissyan.com. And so people can find you there. Your book is on Amazon. Change Yourself, Change the World, Transform Your Life from Fear-Based Living to Choosing Love and Seeing Magic. And you can be found on Instagram and on Facebook at Soulistic with a Y, and it's like soul and mystic combined, which is a really cool one there as well. So wonderful to get to talk with you. And I think that, we talk so much on the show about like what counseling is and then also what it's not. And because in order to talk about what anything is, you have to talk about what it's not. And so the relationship between, what I describe in CBT and then what you describe in the energy of the situation. It's the same situation and we're headed towards the same goal. It's just those different approaches. And anytime we're trying, whether it's a tennis swing that we're trying to improve, or whether it's our drawing ability or our painting ability, any way we can come at that and move towards that goal is going to be helpful. And so many of the times, if you've got your counselor and you've got your life coach, and now maybe you have your heart-centered healer, right? To focus on that energy piece of it. And they all work so well together because as long as that is there, where we're going towards that same place, we're going towards that same goal. So I think it's wonderful. And I'm so glad that therapists refer to you and that you refer to therapists, because it really is so helpful, I think, for people to know, like, what is the difference between these, right? Like there are a lot of differences between them, even though we're talking about the same stuff. And so I just think it's so helpful for people to have that team, that multidisciplinary kind of team around them. So it's been wonderful to learn about spiritual healing and that energy component to the work. So thank you so much for being here. This has been wonderful.
I'm Atousa Raissyan and I need a counselor.
Wonderful.
Awesome. And I'm Chrissa Hunt.
And I'm Julie Johnson, and we need a counselor.
And so do you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the You Need a Counselor podcast. We are so grateful that you're here. Now, we want to hear from you. Text us or give us a call at 515-650-3231. You can also find and connect with You Need a Counselor on Facebook and Instagram. If you've enjoyed today's show, please take a moment to like, review, or leave a comment, as all of these things help others to find and benefit from the podcast as well. If you're in the state of Iowa and interested in mental health counseling or behavioral health intervention services, give us a call at 800-531-4236. And if you're a provider seeking play therapy CEUs, you can find us on patreon.com/youneedatraining. We'll see you for the next episode, Sunday at 5.